Good evening. Can you hear me, Morgan?
And
Very good. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good. And we will start here momentarily. Morgan, what did we trade emails about recently? Sorry, I forgot.
No, you're okay. It was regarding talking about like a diplomatic career.
Right. And we
Hmm.
didn't do that yet, right?
No, we haven't. We
Did
said
we
we
schedule
decided
it, or did I say wait till after Christmas or
I
whatever?
was I think we are gonna wait until next semester. I had two classes with you, so
Oh,
um
that's right. You have
yeah.
my diplomacy class, right? That's
Yep.
right.
Hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, good. And it'll make more sense then as well.
Hmm.
It'll be kind of more in that
I was
case.
happy to see that that class was being offered. I'm excited to take it.
Oh, the diplomacy class?
Hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be offered. I wasn't going to teach it, but they begged me to do it. So I was like,
Hmm.
okay. Oh, big O, you OU, uh, and they needed more. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. So
Hmm.
next semester is going to be interesting for me, but that's all right. Um, all right. Good evening, Andrew. How are you?
Good, good. How are you doing this evening?
Very good, thanks. Yep, awesome. Okay, well, I think I've given enough time. I think we're going to be here for a little bit tonight. I apologize up front. I estimate 90 minutes. Let's see how accurate I am on this. So, what we're going to do here, just as I said uh, in my announcements, is that we are going to. This is our last Zoom, our fourth and final Zoom for this course. I'm going to talk about my instructor personal experiences, part three, which is the aftermath of the Gulf War. Uh, More personalized for me in this case, not into some of the other issues necessarily, unless I happen to talk about them, that you saw in the aftermath lecture module. We will do a final quiz review and then basically open Q&A at that point, particularly if you have any questions on the course written assignment. One of you has already turned it in. And so if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer or try to answer it. So any burning questions before we get started? Nope. Okay. So what I'm going to do here. Oh, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Oh no, no. I was just saying no. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Let me make sure I'm at where I want to be at. And I am going to go here. Just some course. Okay. No wonder. We'll just go ahead and get out of that. There. Go here and share. Oops. I'm going to silent. First thing I'm going to do, like I ask my students to do in class, is put away your cell phone. So I'm going to silence mine and put on do not disturb. It's been disturbing me tonight. Okay, very good. So I'm going to share my screen. If you all can kind of give me a thumbs up that you see my screen. All right. So I am going to go to slideshow here in just a minute. So it'll should fill up your entire screen. But what I want to do is, yeah, so what we're going to do, talk about in terms of my personal experiences, my instructor personal experiences. These are some are from my own notes, primarily here. And then I'm going to go into a bunch of photos that I took, like I did in my personal experiences, part one and part two. Just a reminder, anything that I mention in this case, even about my personal experiences, is potentially attributable. So you could see it. Matter of fact, you will see it on a quiz because it's relevant, important to the Gulf War and to certain experiences. And so I'll talk about the Southwest Asia ceasefire from my own notes and demarcation line duty. And well, not much of an week 8 preview. That's just pretty much study for the final quiz. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to read my notes from the 16th of March, 1991. You'll be like, why are you still writing a diary out here? What's going on? Haven't you left the desert by now? No. Some of the units that had first deployed to Desert Shield, like think like 82nd Airborne Division, 101st, 24th Mech, those folks who'd been there since August, they were like, yeah, the war's done. We want to leave. And you guys who only got here in December, you should be taking over. So that's what we did. So I'm going to read some notes. Again, they're going to be a bit raw, and I'm going to read them word for word, just one page this time, not 3 pages of notes from my journal. And it's basically about establishing demarcation line duty. Yeah, at this point, we had the first talks in Safwan, in the Iraqi city just to the north of Kuwait, and Safwan too, for that matter, that the author of our book, Rick Francona, Iraq from Allied Adversary, wrote about. But the Iraqis, still weren't really complying yet with UN Security Council resolutions, even though the ceasefire was fully in effect by now. But we made a move to go back into Iraq after we'd been in Kuwait for a bit to occupy essentially part of southern Iraq for a number of reasons. It wasn't going to be long. We're talking weeks, not more than a month or so. And so our unit at that time, the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment, was well versed in border patrol duties. That's what it had done for 45 years, from 1945 to 1990. And so and I'm going to read my notes here in a minute. I'm just going to go through these points on the slide first. So just like our border patrol unit, just like we had done, a year before on the old East-West German and Czechoslovak borders. The patrolling in our sector, after having re-entered Iraq, this was definitely a show of force to make sure the Iraqis complied with not only the Safwan agreements, but the UN Security Council resolutions. So being a young second lieutenant at the time, I wasn't necessarily too pleased that we were going back into Iraq because that meant potential combat. And it was like, well, wait a second, we got away with a 100-hour war, and you're saying we have to go back. So I wasn't too particularly pleased about it at the time. So let me tell you how I felt. I'll show you. Still in the original writing, it still has gritty dust on it, the paper from Kuwait and southern Iraq. And so now the stupid shit really begins, I wrote. After spending 2 weeks in Kuwait and after our fight in a ceasefire, we're back in Iraq. We road marched 91 miles west into Iraq yesterday, supposedly to make us closer to KKMC. So let me go off script here for a minute. KKMC stands for King Khalid Military City. It's in northern Saudi Arabia, not all that far from Iraq and Kuwait. And it's a huge military city run by the Saudis. KKMC is our ticket home. That is where we would be flying out of to redeploy back to Germany, where we're going to prepare our vehicles, get them cleaned up, ready for customs duties, going back into Germany, all this kind of thing. So I say here, supposedly to make us closer to KKMC, our ticket home. We're 200 kilometers north of KKMC. And now we have it looks like I wrote a WO, which means warning order to conduct a zone reconnaissance 20 kilometers to the north tomorrow. This is the politicians' fault. They should never have stopped us. We could have marched right into Baghdad and excuse my language here, make those motherfuckers sign the unconditional surrender. Now, Iraq is trying to be slick and not sign it. We, the second ACR, are now in Iraq for a show of force. Now politicians are pulling the strings on us. This is a potential because to become another fucked up war a la Vietnam. They should never have stopped us. This could have been the beginning of a lot of stupid shit. Keeping us here indefinitely. I don't see a quick end to this. We were supposed to be all in KKMC by the 20th, 60% of the regiment by the 28th, and the rest by the 17th. I don't know. I messed up my writing there a little bit. Now, who knows? That's fucked up to do all that. Pardon all my language, but I want you to know how a young officer's feeling, how a young soldier's feeling. Clearly, it didn't turn into a Vietnam. Clearly, this was a temporary action, but we didn't know that at the time. And raw emotions thinking about, well, we got out of this thing, but now it looks like it is going to become a quagmire. And of course, it didn't. When you're young, you don't always know what the ultimate mission is. I mean, when you're out in the desert, you don't know that it's a CNN TV war and they're showing videos of Tomahawk missiles rounding corners and hitting the Ministry of Defense. We're not seeing that. We're only getting limited information out there. So I thought you'd enjoy that, and now you can, for those of you who have sensitive ears, which is probably neither one of you or anyone else, but I wanted you to hear that. Okay, now I'm going to go to slideshow. And so this is a map here. So you can see this is southern Iraq here, and here's Kuwait. Here's Safwan, if you can see my mouse circling it. Here's Kuwait City down here. And then you see this kind of this bolded dashed blue line, and you can even see it says demarcation line here. And this came from one of your sources, from either the Jayhawk book or one of the other ones. And you can see that here's the border between Saudi Arabia to the south and Iraq to the north, the neutral zone area here down in this southern part, and then the Kuwait-Saudi border over here. And here's good old second ACR up at the tip, so to speak, in this area up here. You'll see An Nazariya. If anyone has been in Iraq the second time around, that's a very quite well-known place. Euphrates River is right in this area. And we're going to talk about Sukashuk right here in just a moment. But this was our patrol zone for demarcation line duties. And at this time, there's still some troops intermixed. Iraqis are still trying to get some of their troops out. And so we're trying not to have engagements. What I didn't read you is rules of engagement they gave us about Iraqis who are south of this line, meaning Iraqi soldiers. Certainly, they're going to be civilians, and how we dealt with them as well. And of course, this shows the map as of the 24th of March, 1991, and that is approximately the time frame that we're in this area. So, yeah, there's the map. So my personal experiences, there was an incident at Sukashuk, which I'm going to tell you about, Sukalshuk. It's basically a war story, kind of a there I was, but it's true. And what was going on, and let me go back to this, and I have another map to show you details, but we're doing patrols in this area along a demarcation line to make sure no Iraqis are coming south of the line. If they are, they're in big trouble. And of course, we're not going further north. This is to keep us separated. And so what we're doing is these patrols have to take at least 2 vehicles, and they have to be armored. So either like 2 tanks, 2 Bradleys, 2 up-armored Humvees, or what we didn't really call them up-armored, but armored Humvees back then, or a combination. And so I went out. I was not the patrol leader. I was, remember, the fire support guy for this unit, this maneuver element. I was attached to them, almost organic, because we worked and lived together all the time, even in peacetime. But it was the patrol leader was a sergeant first class in the Army in E7, and I was kind of along for the ride, but there to for a number of reasons. One, to see what they were doing, and also two, to help better define targeting in case a war did start back up. We didn't know for sure, right? I mean, we'd just been in combat 2.5 weeks before, so we didn't know something would flare up again. And so I, as a targeting officer for artillery and anything else, could have better definitions and be able to use GPS that we had and maybe GPS some targets in. Let's see. Yeah, maps. So the incident takes place on April 3rd, 1991. I'll never forget that. We're doing these border patrols, and it's two M1A1 tanks in our sector along a demarcation line. And the demarcation line in our sector was railroad tracks. And so I now have another map to show you. This is just a map, way out here. So you can see it in southern Iraq here. Here's in Nasiriyah. So now let's go to a little bit closer in. You can see Nasiriyah here, and here's Sukashuk to the southeast of it. We're going to be talking about next You see over here on the left side. That's a very famous, of course, settlement. This is considered to be, if not the oldest, one of the oldest known human settlements in history. 6,000 years old. They have a ziggurat there, which I'll show you. I was on top of. And I'll show it to you here in a minute. And you'll see Talil right there. There was a Iraqi air base right there. But this is an incident about Sukashuk and in this area. So just to close in on it a little bit here. So it's a town. Actually, one of our students in this class, Wissam, he has an uncle or a cousin that lives or is from this area. Down in here. So that's kind of interesting. And so he's not with us here tonight, but hopefully he enjoys this story. So this is, I keep closing in, right? So here's a little bit close in on the city of Sukashuk. And so I'm going to explain what all these symbols mean here. So here's this railroad line, which is right here. This is our demarcation line. And what we're supposed to be doing, you see these little yellow triangles down here in the lower left. These are like observation points where we are to stop on our patrol. We're not to get too close to the demarcation line, but we stop and observe, see what's going on, that type of thing. We're trying not to keep any patterns. So if the Iraqis are going to target us or terrorists or something like this, that they don't know exactly where we're going to be every time. But this is essentially how it was. We would go to these observation posts, locations, and kind of check out where things were at. Well, what happened here is, we're not supposed to cross this line. We're not even supposed to get that close to it. But what happened with our 2-tank patrol is, and I'm not leading it. I kicked one of the guys out of the tanks, the loader. I actually knew how to load a tank at that time. And I had my own radio with me, back to the artillery nets. But I was with the patrol leader, this platoon sergeant, sergeant first class, leading these 2 tanks. And I noticed that we had, let's see, where's my mouse here? I knew we were in here somewhere. And I noticed that we went over a set of railroad tracks. So I looked at the patrol leader, the sergeant first class, and I said, hey, aren't we not supposed to be going over railroad tracks? As well, and he shows me his map. He goes, no, there's another set of railroad tracks. This first one is okay to go over. I was like, are you sure? He goes, yeah. No, we're fine. I said, all right. So then we cross it. And as you can see, I don't know if you know anything about maps. I know you do, Andrew, and Morgan, I'm not sure about you, but you can see that this area here is now built up. These are like, buildings and stuff. And we weren't supposed to be near buildings. And so you can see these exclamation points getting bigger and bolder. And so we're going into here, and I look at him and I say, something's not right. And he starts to get the feeling, yeah, I'm not sure I'm right. And what we see here are Iraqi soldiers on the streets with their weapons. They're not aiming at us. They have them slung on their shoulders, and they start fleeing the streets, going into the buildings. And I'm going, boy, that can't be good. It's and then I see at this intersection further down, I see a T-62 tank. I was very good at identifying tanks at that time, and then its gun tube was pointed down, so they're either doing maintenance on it. There was no crew in it. It wasn't pointing at us, But I finally said to him, I said, look, I know you're the patrol leader, but I'm gonna take charge of this thing if you don't, and we need to get the hell out of here because I think that we're in violation of the ceasefire accords. And he goes, yeah, I think you're right. So we stopped with our two tanks, right? And we did something that's called a pivot steer. So you normally don't do this, particularly on regular roads. And this was a hardball road. This is like a concrete or asphalt road, and it'll really tear them up. But a pivot steer means you can stay in place, and the entire vehicle just moves back the other way. So you're like, you're moving the tracks. Remember, these are tracks, not wheels. And one track goes one way and one the other way at the same time, and it just spins. And so we do a pivot steer spin and we start heading out the other way. I say, let's put our own gun tubes over our butt, over the back of the tank, load it. And if anybody gets in that tank and moves that tube towards us, we're immediately taking it out. And that'll be my call. Because, first thing is, even if it's my fault, if they start shooting at us, I don't want them to have a chance to get to us. In the same time, I'm calling on my artillery radio net and back to the artillery battery and going, hey, look, I have a new target for you. And I give them the target coordinate, the 6-digit grid for this intersection, and saying, hey, look, I have a new target. And you're like, Rob, what are you doing? You're just supposed to be on patrol. And I said, no, let me tell you, just trust me. And if I tell you that I need you to fire this target, I use a little bit more formal language for artillery talk, but essentially that's what I'm saying. I said, you need to do it right now, immediately. And he said, are you sure? And I broke all protocol. And instead of saying, our call sign, his name was Jack. I said, Jack, damn it, just do it. He's like, okay, Rob, I will. Nothing happened. So we turned around, got out of here, and we crossed back over sorry, where'd my mouse go? We crossed back over the demarcation line to the kind of southwest there, and then set up where we were supposed to. Waited a good 30 minutes to see if there was any reaction. I might mention to you, when we first went down this road, there was a white van going the other way, and the driver stuck his hand out the car and gave us a thumbs up. So I'm pretty sure that I made contact with the rebellion then, because they were happy. They were thinking that we are coming in probably to support the rebellion. Imagine that. Second Lieutenant Andrew could have really messed things up in southern Iraq. But no shots were fired at the end of the day. We got back and continued our patrol. Now, Andrew in particular, I bet, is wondering the question here. Well, young Lieutenant Andrew, did you bother to radio up and tell our headquarters? And I on purpose did not, because I knew it would create a shitstorm, what we had done. So we came back, seemed like nothing wrong had happened. So I went back to my commander after we'd finished the patrol. I didn't put anything out over the radio net because I knew people are always listening, meaning higher headquarters sometimes jumps down on lower nets. And I went to my commander face to face and I told him the story I told you. And he goes, no one hurt? I said, no one hurt. Any shots fired? No shots fired. Of course, this is before, cell phones and digital cameras. The Iraqis were so shocked that we were there. They were scared. They were running out of the street. So they probably didn't have a reaction to prove that we were there. And nothing ever happened that I'm aware of. And my captain said, okay, I got it. Don't worry about it. I was like, okay. And I assumed that the story never went further than him after that. So this kind of stuff happens probably more often than we would like to admit, where there mistakes happen, but thankfully nothing happens. And, if you make a big deal out of it, it's going to become a big deal. And so I made a call not to make a big deal out of it. And at that time, those two tank crews, I swore them to secrecy for 30 years. So I guess statute of limitations is over now. But anyways, that's my story on that, the incident at Sukashuk. True story. All right, this just is a little bit closer in, but so next thing here, less dramatic, but more historic. I wasn't that, at the time, I'm not sure I appreciated it quite so much, but I kind of did. So in our patrolling area, or in the area that we were at in southern Iraq, included the the ruins at Ur. These are biblical ruins in this case. It's mentioned in the Bible. And there's a ziggurat, kind of like a pyramid, right? Babylonia type of stuff. And nearby was an Iraqi air base at that time called Talil Air Base. Nowadays, I think it's been renamed to Imam Ali Air Base. They were destroyed in aircraft in and around Talil, MiGs. I took some photos of them, which you'll see a little bit later in the presentation. But we were very happy we didn't hit Ur or the ziggurat at Ur. Matter of fact, if you've been reading, where did I put it at? If you've been reading this terribly thick book on conduct of the Persian Gulf War and the air campaign, there's information in here on the air campaign about not targeting those type of facilities or ancient temples, things like this. So again, we look at the map. So here's Sukashuk. This is where the incident was, and then just over here to the north, it's kind of the west, northwest over here, Talil. This is where the area is that I'm next going to talk about. And here in a second, and we're kind of zooming in here on the map, and then I'm going to give you a satellite shot. You can see here it says Great Ziggurat of Ur. And then this is the satellite shot here, and we're going to zoom in on it, and you're going to be able to see it pretty clearly here. There it is right there, and even a little bit closer from a satellite shot. And I have pictures that I'm going to show you that I took. I stood right on top right here, and this is a ramp. It's hard to tell from a satellite shot from space, but that's a ramp that goes down, not too steep. And then these are the walls right here. This is the top of it, and we actually got to walk around quite a bit of it. And there were ruins nearby, and there was an Arab guy who, a local Iraqi Arab guy who was our kind of a tour guide for us. And he spoke English relatively well, and I'll tell you one of the things we talked to him about. We said, well, what do you think about us, the American Army, being here in Iraq, and kind of taking care of Saddam and his war? And he goes, look, you're just the latest in several thousand years of armies coming through here, and there'll be more armies in the future. And I'm afraid he's right. So that's my story about Ur until we get to the pictures, and I'll show you some of the pictures on that. So coming back to my own experiences, Gulf War syndrome, I had you do a little bit of reading about it. I don't think I suffered too badly from it. Many did from the first Gulf War, and I think from the second Iraq War as well. They probably called it something else, but for me, my main symptoms were for years. I had this rash that I would get particularly on my hands. It was kind of a red rash, and my fingers in particular would just turn red and peel. And it was very, it was awful actually. And then in my ears as well. And I'm not sure exactly what it was. I had, felt fatigue for a long time and some other related symptoms. And I haven't had the rash for a long time. It eventually went away, but probably took 20 years for it to finally kind of go away. Not 100% true. I noticed probably about a year ago that I had a little bit of a rash, but it went away quickly, and I hadn't had one in years. So kind of interesting. Coming home to Germany, one of the interesting things about, one day you're in the middle of the desert. We left, when did we leave? Like April, I don't remember, mid to late April. I think it was around the 20th of April or so that we left. We finally got on a plane at KKMC and came home to Germany. But one day you're in the middle of the desert, you have your weapon with you all the time. You have your helmet, you've got your gas mask, you've got your gear, and the desert is pretty bleak out there, not a lot to see. And then the next day you're in Germany. It's in April, so it's springtime now. Everything's green. There's mountains, there's trees, and your senses just get overloaded because you haven't seen this type of stuff for months. In some cases, some guys, for 6 months or more. And even when I came home, there were people who still didn't come home for months after that until July or August for various reasons. But just that visual senses were overwhelmed. Your sense of smell also was different. Things smelled differently. I will tell you, I don't think this was like really PTSD, but I had a lot of nervousness about not having my weapon and gas mask handy at all times when I turned them in, at our local arms room there in Germany. And and also it was weird driving a car again because I wasn't driving my armored vehicle. I was commanding it. And I always felt like I should be commanding my car. It was kind of funny because I had a sunroof and I wanted to just stand up in it and have my weapon ready. It was good to be out of the desert. Fourth point on this is I went on a trip to London just a month and a half after I got back. We got a lot of kind of free leave to use, and I did a trip there, and of course I did a trip back home, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But my uncle was a professor, art professor, and he was doing like an exchange with a university there, and his wife at the time. He's since switched wives, but his wife at the time worked at the British Museum. And guess what they had a big exhibit on while I was there? An exhibit from the Ziggurat of Ur, pictures and some artifacts. So when we saw her there, I said, "Hey, what? Guess what? I know exactly what that is." And she says, "Well, how do you know?" I said, "I was just there like a month ago." So that was kind of neat, that I was, saw how important this site was historically um, for archaeologists. And then I went to my hometown of Chico for a good 30 days with my parents. I think I did a trip to Hawaii and with a buddy of mine, and really got to some good R&R. Along with other local veterans of the Gulf War, we were grand marshals in the Fourth of July parade while I was there, and my parents arranged a very nice welcome home party. And one of the things I wanted to do, one of my personal heroes, who was my fifth and sixth grade teacher way back in elementary school, he was invited to that party. He's still alive, actually. He's in his 80s now. He's been a lifelong mentor. He was a Vietnam veteran, and I felt it was not right that our Vietnam veterans were not recognized like we were when we came home from the desert. And so I made sure to recognize him at my welcome home party and say, look, these are the guys that really had it tough. So I want to say that as well here. I would say the same thing about Second Iraq veterans and Afghan veterans today. All right, so that's enough of me talking about that. And now let's get to some pictures. Do a time check. I think we're doing all right. So most of these pictures are post ceasefire. There could be some that I took before, but this is kind of an interesting little sign. We're headed back. I think we're leaving Kuwait and going back into Iraq, as I mentioned earlier on. And just, some of the roads were nice highways. I mean, it doesn't quite look like I-5, right? Or I-35 or I-95 or wherever you're at in the world. But this was a beautiful highway, well constructed, good, signs telling you where to go. And so we took that picture there. This is the entrance to Talil Air Base, not far from Ur. And this was this Iraqi Air Force base. And this was a beautiful MiG-21 fighter that they had on display out in the entrance to their base. We took it over while we were there. And matter of fact, during the Second Iraq War, I know we took it over and based aircraft there, including the A-10, I believe. I will tell you something very sad, though. That beautiful airplane, before we left the area, our tankers got a notion to knock it off, and we ran it over with our tanks. I didn't get a picture of that, but we did. It was kind of a parting present. Not very nice, but that's what we did. I told you that this Talil Air Base, we definitely targeted it from the air during the war. The Iraqis were smart. They tried to disperse a lot of their aircraft away from the air base onto local highways and kind of revetments and berms around. But our planes found them anyways. So I have some pictures here of destroyed MiGs. And these are MiG-23s or MiG-27s. They're swing wing fighters that the Soviets had built and sold to the Iraqis. You can see the revetment there, the berm. That's kind of protects them from ground fire, but certainly not from the air. And most of these were plinked, so to speak, by precision weapons dropped from F-111 aardvarks, U.S. Air Force uh, fighter bombers. I'm pretty sure this is a MiG-27 that we see coming up. It had been covered with some camouflage netting. You'll see it as we get closer here, but it also got destroyed either by air or possibly by ground troops when we'd come through the area. In the distance there, it looks like there's some delta or water back there. It's green. This is because we're not too far from the Euphrates River. There's a bit of a close-up there. Beautiful airplane. It breaks my heart, really, to see airplanes destroyed like that, even though they're enemy airplanes. And of course, we didn't want them hurting our guys, but they're still beautiful airplanes. So here are some of my personal pictures of the Ziggurat at Ur. You can see, we're driving up to it here. There's already some troops up top. This is that ramp I was talking about when we looked at the satellite shot. Quite interesting. And, to this day, I haven't really read too much about it. But, clearly quite historic pyramid ziggurat in ancient Mesopotamia. Just some photographs of various angles. This is me up top looking down that ramp and taking a picture to some of the troops down there. Something kind of interesting here. If you notice our uniforms, these are, we still haven't been issued. This is after the war. We still haven't been issued our desert camouflage uniforms. We never got them before the war. We did get them before we redeployed back to Germany, and we came home to them in Germany, but it was silly. We never wore them in the desert. In our armored vehicles, we wore Nomex, kind of a flight suit, flame retardant type of suit. But there we are, a lot of us in our green uniforms. This is a picture. You can see the Euphrates River. There's a water tower there in the distance. You can see a tree line. And these are going to be the ruins, some of the ruins at Ur. Well, there's a picture of yours truly with no gray hair at that point and a nice thick mustache. I don't know if you recall, our Christmas present to each other was shaving each other's heads and all of our hair off of our faces. And then we just basically let everything grow. We didn't grow beards. They wouldn't let us do that. But we grew way out of regulation mustaches. But even our regimental commander did. So he said, well, if the colonel can do it, we can do it, right? So we're amongst the ruins here. And I'm not sure what that was. It was just kind of very interesting. It looked like some sort of piping system. I'm not sure exactly what it was. And the reason I took a picture of this particular room is our guide told us, and I have to believe he is telling us the truth. He said, this is where Abraham was born. The father of the three religions, right? The Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Now, there are several locations where he has, reportedly been born. This is apparently one of them. So I snapped a photo. So maybe it's true. I think these are kind of parting shots. Yeah, that's my last shot I took. I might have taken some more shots, but, this presentation I didn't want to take all night. But you get an idea of the ziggurat at Ur. This picture, I believe I think we're headed back into Iraq at this point. I'm not exactly sure. Let me come back to it, but I believe that's my commander's tank. He was always my closest tank. We were in formation a lot with each other, so my favorite target for my lens. And kind of at dusk there, you can see the sun setting in the background. Tanks. We actually did a live fire exercise. Now, those of you who know, these are not tanks here. These are self-propelled artillery. This would be the old M109 A2, A3s, not Paladins, but they're laid, ready to shoot. And we did some live fire exercises in southern Iraq, not really as a show of force, more to keep our skills, just in case, to keep our skills sharp for calling in fire and all that type of thing. I'm pretty sure we're definitely headed back to Saudi in this picture. And I hadn't seen a lot of helicopters. And so here were a couple of medevac type helicopters just sitting off to the side of the road on our road march. And I was like, well, that's worth a picture. And that's one of my regiments. Now that's a gunship. That's a AH-1 Cobra. This was from our 4th Squadron, 2nd ACR. There were 3 ground squadrons, right? 1st, 2nd, and 3rd armored cavalry squadrons. Our 4th Squadron was air, which had these were AH-1 Cobras. They carried missiles. They carried Hellfire missiles, 2.75 rockets, and then a 20 millimeter Gatling gun in the nose. They were very powerful helicopter. Quite feared in Vietnam, by the way. That's when it came out. But these were our guys. Right. So we're definitely headed back to King Khalid Military City from Iraq. We made it, I believe, in a day, but it was there was another sandstorm, and when you have all these armored vehicles going through the desert, we're kicking up a lot of dust. So this vehicle in front of me probably wasn't more than 50 meters, certainly not more than 100. And after 100 meters, there was no visibility. So it was a bit of a long day making sure that no one got lost. Basically heading due south. So after the war, now this, I'm not sure. I think we're still in Iraq, so I haven't, these aren't in perfect order here. That's me there with an AT-4. That's an light anti-tank weapon. And we have a lot of unexpended munitions. And if you know anything about the military, you never want to turn in ammo. It's a pain in the butt paperwork wise. So you always want to expend your ammo if you can. And so we set up like a firing range, and like with a captured Iraqi truck, and we shot our anti-tank missiles at it for training. And once we had done that, we set them all up pretending that they were infantry. And then if you see right here on the right, these are all Claymore mines that we set up. And so we're pretending that this is infantry advancing towards us, and we're going to light them up with Claymore mines right here. And that's the explosion from a safe distance away, expending our ammo. Those are all of those claymores that are set up. What are there, about 10 or 15 of them there? And that's what that explosion looks like. And you don't want to be anywhere near that. We're back in KKMC here, and we've captured a lot of Iraqi equipment. I don't remember the exact designation. Andrew, you might remember what this is, but it's some sort of anti-aircraft weapon system, Soviet or Chinese built, ZSU something one. I don't remember, but there's a lot of equipment that we captured and took back to Germany or back to the States with us. I think mainly just back to the States, but some to Germany. This is a lineup of things we captured. That's definitely a T-72 tank here. This is going to be an armored car, a BRDM-2. And the tank to the left here is going to be a T-55 tank. And you'll see some different angles of these same shots here. That's a front on. Now, why I took this shot right here is because this is an infrared, or this is a rangefinder or infrared or something. No, it's a laser rangefinder. So the T-72s were well equipped with latest technology for them. That's the same shot, just a little different angle. Here's the T-72 and there's the T-55. I think this is a 2S1, which is a self-propelled artillery piece, a 122 millimeter. You can see on the side, we've written our unit. In this case, this is 2nd Squadron, 2nd ACR. And we're taking them, right? These are kind of like war trophies. And you can see that we've even put one of those orange panels on it so our Air Force doesn't identify it as an enemy vehicle, which it is, and destroys it. So please don't destroy it. It's now one of ours. Here's a better shot of that. This is like a armored reconnaissance car, BRDM-2, definitely Soviet or Russian made. That's like what a scout does, right? They go in these and find where the enemy is, type of thing, and run away quickly. Hard to see in this picture, but right in the center here is a little dust devil. So I don't know if you can see it. It's the picture faded when I digitized it a little bit, but there's a little dust devil there, and that's what he's taking a picture of. Trip home. We're going home, at least going home to Germany. We're relieved, relaxed, and I even got to get up in a cockpit and do a little bit of a hero shot up in there. And you can see, oh, look at our uniforms. Well, some are wearing woodland, but I'm definitely wearing this. They called this the what they call it, chocolate chip, I think, chocolate chip desert BDUs. And we had to wear these to go home to show that we'd fought in a desert, even though we didn't fight in these uniforms. They were issued after the war. And I think that's the end. Oh, wait, I got to show you that too. My wife's not in the background. That'll be all right. But here's this shot is, if you can't see this, this is an antenna from one of our vehicles. And this is actually right when we first went into Kuwait, right after the war was over. And we raised our little American flag saying, "Yay, Kuwait is liberated. Thanks to America." Now, back home, my parents, I told you, did that nice welcome home party for me. And there were a lot of people who corresponded with me out in the desert. I don't know if I showed you this or not. And this isn't from that particular person. But one of the ways we corresponded, we didn't have a lot of things to write with necessarily. So from our MRE packages, we would take the main meal, the cardboard box that it was in, and turn it into a postcard and write on it. And you can see up in this corner, I don't know if you can see it, it'll be right here. It should say free, and that was our postage, and then to an address in the lower left there. Well, at this welcome home party, there were several. I had written a lot of people and invited a bunch, and these at that point in my life, two very nice looking young girls who had corresponded with me wanted a picture, and you can see my cheese eating grin there, Andrew. I was quite happy to do that. And matter of fact, I even dated her for a little bit while I was there. But it was nice to be welcomed home. And there was the newspaper was there as well, of course, and took a picture. So that's all I have for this, my supplemental, my personal experiences, part 3. Let me just I'll say here, week 8 preview, which is next week, is you finish all your reading, prepare for the final quiz. Of course, turning in your papers, which is this weekend on the what is it, the 7th, right? Before midnight on Sunday the 7th. But before I carry on and go to the quiz review, any questions from what I just covered or comments? You all good?
Yeah, I just found it fascinating. I never went to Iraq, so I was Afghanistan twice. So just hearing the Iraq side, especially since we still have some troops in Iraq, and I've had a couple buddies that have been over there and described some stuff. So it was just, and no, I appreciate it. It was just interesting hearing that perspective from the Iraq side. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and from the first time, it'll be different for guys who were there in the Second War, and of course now the mission is a little different. I know they're on a train and advise, assist type of mission. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's 2,500 troops or something there, something like that.
Yeah, about that. It seems that basically the 18th Airborne Corps keeps rotating through there. The last unit that was there was out of the 10th Mountain. I think the 101st is over there now. I can't remember, but it was about 6 months ago. I had some friends from Fort Drum over there. So yeah, I think it's the 18th.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, I think it's the 18th Airborne Corps that's rotating through there.
Okay. And 2,500 troops, if it's something like that, so that sounds kind of like a battalion plus or a brigade minus, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think they're just trying to hold the ground, is from what I understand over there right now. And yeah, like you said, just like train and assist and don't leave the wire. So you know how boring that probably gets.
Yeah, that would be terrible, dude. I would hate that duty. But
yeah, that would not be good.
9
months of that.
That certainly wasn't my experience, but our experience was so brief and it was but it was certainly uh I'll never forget it. I'll be honest, when I prepared this course and I prepared these presentations, it brought back a lot of old memories that I'd forgotten, and stirred up a few things in my mind. So that was kind of interesting too.
Yeah, I bet.
Um, let me see here. So what we'll do next is we will do a quiz review. So I'm not going to share my screen because I am going to look at the questions. So we've got, yeah, it's about 10 to 9. I think it's going to probably take us a good 20 to 30 minutes to do this. And let me just get started if there's no other questions or comments. So here are your instructions. This is your final quiz. All of the answers in this quiz will be in the form of multiple choice or true, false, or matching type questions. There are no essay or short answer questions. The questions are generated from the readings and lecture slides for weeks 5 through 8. So it doesn't cover the entirety of the course, just the second half of the course. So the midterm covered everything, the first 4 weeks. The final covers the last 4 weeks, okay, which is really weeks 5 and 6 and 7 and this week for that matter. There's no new material next week, right? For that. Let me go back there. And so because there's no short answers, no written parts. When you submit, when you're done, the score that you see there is your final score on that quiz. Remember in the midterm, it wasn't your final score. I had to go in and grade some of the short written responses. I won't be doing that for this. So the computer will grade it. I will go in and grade the bonus, but that will be the only one. Okay. The quiz is open book, open Canvas, your notes. You can use this class lecture slides, other material on Canvas, your own notes, our books, clearly the video recordings from personal experiences 1, 2, and 3. That includes tonight. On your honor, I ask that you not use Google, search engines, AI to look up answers. Probably wouldn't help you anyway, but please don't use it. This is on your honor and according to my policy. Don't gasp too deeply. There are 40 questions in this quiz. And there's a bonus at the end. If you already got 40 out of 40 answered properly, I will not give you extra credit. However, if you answered a question incorrectly from questions 1 through 40 and answer the bonus correctly, I will raise your score appropriately. You will have only 2 hours. It's a 2-hour final. Okay. So 40 questions in 2 hours. You can do the math on how much time you have per question. I've shortened the time a little bit. Remember the first one, I think I gave you 2.5 or 3 hours. That's because there was writing to it. There's no writing here. So these are questions that you're either going to know them or not. And if you don't, you have time to look them up, but don't spend forever doing it type of thing. All right, let's look at the questions. And again, what I will do is I will tell you the question number, how much it's worth, and what type of question it is. So question number 1 is a true-false question worth 2 points. And it's going to be a question about the dates of Desert Storm. The dates of Desert Storm. That's what the question is about. True-false. Okay. Question number 2 is multiple choice, worth also 2 points. And the question is going to be about the Powell Doctrine, the so-called Powell Doctrine. Okay. Question number 3 is also multiple choice, 2 points. And it's going to be a question about the War Powers Act. The War Powers Act. Definitely covered it in the lecture notes. The War Powers Act. Kind of interesting. Let me go off script here for a minute. The War Powers Act has recently been also discussed in relation to the bombings of the drug boats out of Venezuela. So that's kind of interesting. Relevant to our course as well. That was question number 3. Question number 4. Is another true false, only worth 1 point. And it's going to be about Operation Desert Saber. Operation Desert Saber. If you're unfamiliar with that term, I've discussed it in the lecture slides. It's a specific part of Desert Storm. Operation Desert Saber. Okay. True, false. 1 point. Question number 5 is multiple choice, worth 2 points. It's going to be about the beginning of Desert Storm and about Task Force Normandy. Task Force Normandy. Okay, Task Force Normandy. Question number 6. Now this one is a little bit different. It's worth 3 points. And there are multiple answers. So in other words, there's more than one correct answer. And I will tell you that there are 5 answers, 5 possible answers. 3 of them are correct, 2 are incorrect. And the topic is going to be about the Iraqi military launch, about their launching of Scud missiles at Saudi Arabia and Israel. Obviously during the Gulf War. Scud missile launching. Okay. All right. Question number 7. True, false, worth 1 point. It's going to be about air power, Allied air power during the first Gulf War. Question number 8 is worth 5 points. It's another one that has multiple answers to it. I will tell you that there will be 5 correct responses, and there are more than 5 possible responses. And it's going to be about the air campaign objectives. The air campaign objectives. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. I didn't cover this in the lecture slides. Definitely in the reading. That aforementioned book I just talked about, The Conduct of the Persian Gulf War, which you don't have the printed edition unless you were a geek and you got it. Mine's used. I got it from somebody who was selling it somewhere. But you have the PDF version of this. You definitely want to review the air campaign chapter. Okay. All right. That was question number 8, worth 5 points. Question number 9 is worth 6 points, and it's a matching question. It's also going to be about, it's a follow-on question from question number 8. And so what you need to do is there were a number of what we would call target sets for the air campaign. There were actually 12 target sets, and you're going to need to match 12 things with another 12 things. This one's going to take you a little bit of time, all right? But you need to match target sets with their appropriate explanations or descriptions or results, okay? Now, there are more than 12 possibilities that you can match them with. All right, I think, and I'll even tell you, there's 1, 2, 3, I think 3 that are no good. So you have 15 possible, and of course you have to match them correctly together. So this question is going to take a little bit of time. My hint to you is have that resource ready from Conduct of the Persian Gulf War, that chapter. You have it. It's part of your reading. It's part of your resources. That one will take a little bit of time. I would probably give myself 5 to 10 minutes on that very question. Other questions, you're going to breeze through just like that. This is the one that's going to hold you up for a few minutes. Don't let that worry you. Question number 10. Thank goodness, back to a true false, 50-50 chance, worth 1 point. By the way, if I didn't tell you, question number 9, the 12 matching, that's worth 6 points, right? Okay. So question number 10, true false, worth 1 point. The topic is going to be about amphibious landings. Amphibious landings during the Gulf War. Okay, amphibious landings. Hoorah, the Marines, right? Okay. Let's go to question number 11. This is multiple answers, so more than one answer is correct. Worth 2 points. And yeah, there's a number of answers, only 2 of them are correct. And it's going to be about the maritime campaign a little bit, but specifically about battleships, old battle wagon battleships. Okay. Question number 12. Worth 3 points, also multiple answers. There'll be more than one response that is correct. In fact, there will be 3 correct responses. And this question is going to be about the Battle of Khafji, Al-Khafji. The Battle of Khafji. That's spelled Khafji in English. Al-Khafji. Question number 13 is worth 5 points. There's multiple answers. I'm actually going to provide a diagram. It's kind of like a picture. It's a map, picture of a map. It's kind of a planning map for the ground offensive. So before the ground war started. So based on this diagram, you are to use it in choosing all the statements that are true. So you look at the diagram, and then you look at the multiple answers, and you choose the answers that are true based on that diagram. Okay, and there are 5 correct answers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are a number of additional answers that are incorrect. So you need to study the diagram. This one won't take you as long as the 12 matching one, but I would dedicate a few minutes. Don't get rushed, but take a few minutes on this question. Okay. Question number 14 is worth 2 points. True, false. So back to another true, false. This is another question about Operation Desert Saber. Operation Desert Saber again. True, false question. Worth 2 points. Question number 15 is a matching question again. It's worth 6 points. And there are 6 to match. And what it is it has to do with matching Army units with their proper higher headquarters. Okay, so if you've done a reading and you've gone through the lectures, you definitely will see this information in there. But so like, say, for instance, I will give you an example. Heck, I'll even give you one of the answers. How about that? So if you were to see a response that said on the left side, and you're matching the left with the right, and you were to see an answer, 1st Armored Division, the correct response to match it to would be 7th Corps, Roman numeral 7 Corps. And I just gave you one of the answers there. So that's an example of how that works. So now all you have to do is match the following 5. Okay, so what you see on the left is what you have to match with. There's nothing false on the left. It's on the right, where you're matching stuff that you need to choose the right response. Okay. To redo exactly what that happens with matching, you build pairs of matching values. Students will see values on the left and have to select the matching value on the right from a drop-down. Multiple rows can have the same answer. That's true. So you might have another unit in addition to First Armored Division that's in 7th Corps. That's quite possible. Multiple rows can have the same answer, and you can add additional distractors to the right side. Okay. Inside baseball there. All right, question number 16. I'm going to take a break for a second at question 20 to see if there are any questions. Question number 16 is, thank goodness, it's multiple choice. 2 points. There's only one correct answer on the multiple choice ones. And the question is about the Battle of the 7-3 Easting. It's about the Battle of the 7-3 Easting. Now, question 17 is related. Again, this time you're going to see a map. You've definitely seen this map before in the lectures. And the map is, the title of the map is Lineup on, it's the evening of the 26th of February, 1991. And what you're going to do here is using this map and your knowledge from the course readings, especially from the appropriate parts of the Jayhawk book, you're going to choose all the correct answers. So this is a multiple answer. 5 of them will be correct, 5 points. Choose all the correct answers that coincide with the 2nd ACR's Battle of the 7-3 Easting. So you must select all the answers that are correct. There are 5 of them. Okay. And there are a few distracting ones in there. You could probably figure out the incorrect ones fairly easily, but you still want your Jayhawk book out. Question 18 is a picture of a painting, and you have to tell me the name of the painting. And so it's multiple choice. Worth 2 points. Question number 19, you're going to see another map here once again. And using the map below and your knowledge from the reading, again, especially from the Jayhawk book, please choose all the correct answers regarding the Battle of Medina Ridge. And I will tell you that, once again, there are 5 correct answers. So multiple answers, right? So use the map and your knowledge from the reading. Especially the Jayhawk book, choose all the correct answers regarding the Battle of Medina Ridge. Okay, question number 20, and after this, we'll take a short break to see if there's any questions. Thank goodness it's back to a true-false, worth only 1 point. And the topic is going to be regarding the coalition's major military objective. That's as specific as I want to get on it. True or false? Okay, so I've been looking at the test. I'm just going to come back and look at you. So a brief pause right here. We have 20 more questions to review. Any questions on the first 20? Good? Okay. Let's carry on. Question number 21. Worth 2 points, multiple choice. It's only one right response, and the question is about the highway of death. The highway of death. Question number 22. Worth 3 points, multiple answers again, so there's more than one correct response. In fact, there'll be three correct responses. And the question is, the topic is going to be about the oil well fires that the Iraqi troops lit fire to during the 91 Gulf War. Question number 23, worth 2 points, true false question. And it's going to be surrounding the ceasefire. The questions is generally about the ceasefire from February 28th, 1991. Okay. Question number 24. Worth 4 points, multiple answers again, so more than one correct response. In fact, there are 4 correct responses. And the topic is going to be about the Safwan ceasefire talks, as discussed by the Francona book, Ally to Adversary. Sorry, I'm writing myself a little note to remind me to tell you something. Okay, question number 25. Worth 2 points. It's a true false, thank goodness. And it's about, let's see how I'm going to phrase that. It's going to be about the Shia insurgency and the Kurdish uprising after the ceasefire. That's what it's about, general topic. Okay, question number 26, multiple choice, worth 2 points. And it's going to be about the UN Security Council resolution that ended the 91 Gulf War. Okay, question number 27. It's another matching question. So again, you build pairs of matching values. You see values on the left and have to select the matching value on the right from a dropdown. Worth 3 points. And, there could be on the right an incorrect response in there. And this topic is going to be about the aftermath of the war. And this question, and I tell you in the question here, it's drawn from the Fred Halliday article that was in the reading. It's in that module for sure. So I think that's all I'm going to give you. So it's based on that Fred Halliday article. So I have that article open. Okay. Question number 28. Worth 1 point, multiple choice. The question is about Operation Intrinsic Action. Intrinsic action. Question number 29 is a true false, worth 1 point. And the topic is going to be about bin Laden, September 11th, and the Gulf War, kind of their relationship. But it's a true false question, okay? Question number 30. Multiple choice, just one correct answer, 1 point. And it's a question about the Gulf War syndrome. Now, in this case, I will tell you, it's not about me. It's about what you read in the reading and in the lecture slide. Okay. Question number 31. Multiple answers. So once again, there's more than one correct response. In fact, there will be 3 worth 3 points. And this is going to be a question regarding lessons learned by the Russians from the 1991 Gulf War. I would say Soviets, right? But Soviet Union didn't even last the full year of 1991, right? So really the Russians. Lessons learned by the Russians. Question number 32. Sorry, I was looking at something. Is a true false question worth 2 points. And it's going to be about a quote that President George H.W. Bush made at the end of the Gulf War. I'm not going to read off the quote. You definitely saw it in a lecture. True, false, worth 2 points. Okay, question number 33. Multiple answers. Once again, there's more than one correct response, worth 3 points. So that tells you that there are 3 correct responses. And the topic, so from now on, from questions 33 to 40 are going to be based on my personal experiences, part 1, 2, or 3. So I'll let you know, question 33 is from my part 1 personal experiences. And I talked about the plethora of life in the desert. Okay. Life in the desert. And what I'm talking about is not human life. I'm talking about critters in the desert. Okay. Question 34, worth 1 point, multiple choice. And again, it's from my part 1 personal experiences. And it's about, what I'll say, it's about something tactical that we were concerned with in the desert, something tactical. Something that was difficult to grasp or tell. I don't want to go too much further than that. Okay, question 35, again from part 1 of my personal experiences. It's multiple choice worth 2 points. And the topic is, and I'll smile for this one, the topic is Ben's dream. Ben like the person, not Ben and Jerry, but Ben's dream is what it's about. Okay. Question 36, multiple choice worth 2 points. It's from part 2 of my personal experiences. That's what I would have talked about during the last Zoom, during the third Zoom. By the way, part 1 of my personal experiences was the second Zoom I did. Part 2 is the third Zoom, and then part 3 I just did tonight. So question 36, multiple choice, 2 points, from part 2 of my personal experiences. And the question is related to the term Lords of the Desert. Lords of the Desert. Question number 33, multiple choice worth 2 points. Again, from part 2 of my personal experiences, and it's about the term turkey shoot. What does that refer to? Turkey shoot. Okay. Question number 38, we're almost finished here. Question number 38 is multiple choice worth 2 points. Again, from part 2 of my personal experiences. And it's about an enemy bunker that we found at the end of the Battle of the 7-3 Easting. Something unique about it. What was that? Question 39. Multiple choice worth 2 points. It's going to be from part 3 of my personal experiences, what I discussed tonight, in fact. And the topic is going to be about that demarcation line chat and about a certain incident that took place. Okay. Question number 40. It's the last of the main part of the exam. I know it's a lot there. Multiple choice 2 points. Again, from part 3 of my experiences. Has to do with that Iraqi air base that I talked about, that I was at. And finally, the bonus question is worth a potential 5 points. It is multiple choice question. And it has to do with that trip to London I did a month or two after the war. Okay. Just talked about it. All right, so that's the quiz review, folks. Questions on questions 21 through 40 in the bonus. Any clarifications? Clear? So, let me give you two and anyone who's listening to the recording a little bit of advice. Some of the questions are going to take you some time. Probably about 10 of them is my guess. 20 to 30, you should probably get pretty quickly. So you'll make up time with some of those questions, right? Because you only have 2 hours. But there's no writing, thank goodness. It's all just clicking and choosing. Some of you will be done in an hour. Some of you might need all of the 2 hours. So don't let it panic you. If you do the math, you have 2 hours to do 40 questions. That's what, a couple minutes per question, not more than 3, right? But you're not going to be spending 2 or 3 minutes on every question. Some are going to take a little longer. I think one question will take you 5 to 10 minutes. Don't panic, because other questions will take you 5 seconds. And you'll make up time like that. All right. I've proofed this test with undergraduates, or at least one undergraduate who I won't say easily did it, but certainly agreed that 2 hours was enough time. So you were all graduate students and you've had a thorough review. And based on what I've told you, if you did nothing else, you'd probably still do well on the final quiz if you didn't even study. But yeah, so no questions on that then from Morgan or Andrew tonight. Okay, let me just go back and cancel out of that. Make sure I didn't just erase everything that I just did. Okay, that's good. I didn't. That would be a very painful thing if I had to rewrite that test. Okay, so the last thing I have is basically this is a time for open Q&A. I promised you 90 minutes. It would take about 90 minutes. We're almost there. And so you have the next, I'm happy to go past that if you have questions, but I would like to end it if you don't have any substantive questions. Are there any other questions on the course or on the paper, the course written assignment that's due this Sunday? No questions on that? So let me maybe there was something, I feel like I forgot to tell you something about the quiz itself. So, yes. So the quiz will open. It actually opens up this Friday at midnight.
Yeah, the 6th, I was going to say, I just looked at it.
Yeah, so it opens up on a 6th, so meaning Friday night at midnight, and it closes on Friday the 12th at midnight. Just so you have almost a week. But once you start it, you only have 2 hours. I didn't tell you the dates there, right? So take it any time in that time frame. Don't wait until 10 p.m. on Friday night the 12th to start it. That's recipe for disaster. So you could do it on the 12th, but I would recommend doing it earlier in the day. Give yourself some time for internet outages. Canvas, let me tell you something. Canvas goes down. So I would probably not wait until Friday to start it. I would start it earlier in the week. You have 2 hours to do it, but sometimes Canvas goes out and it goes out at the most inopportune times near finals week. Okay, so that it does happen, and it did happen earlier in the semester before this class started. So in the first half of the semester, near the midterms, I had it happen. So and it put people out for a day. So just be cautious of that, okay? Um, yeah, well, if there are no other questions, I don't have anything else for you two. I really appreciate you two joining me. This would have been very boring if I were talking to a blank screen. So I appreciate you two making the time and effort to attend live. And I feel, as always, I feel sorry for those who watch the recording and have to listen to my boring voice for an hour and a half as it's being recorded. But yeah, look, hey, it's been a pleasure to teach all of you. This is a brand new course. You're the first guinea pigs for this course. I am teaching an undergraduate version of it next fall on campus. A couple of things that I would ask that you do as before I sign off tonight. One is, if you haven't already received an email, you should get it from Big OU on doing a course reflection survey, some sort of evaluation of the course. If you wouldn't mind doing that, particularly since this is the first time I've taught this course, I will take your feedback into account. I don't care about the numbers. If you say I'm a terrible instructor, fine. Tell me why. If there's material you liked, tell me why. If there's material you didn't like, tell me why. Uh, uh, if you looked at any of my other courses that I've developed from the first time I taught it to several years later, they are different courses based on student input. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate your bouquets as well as your brickbats when you evaluate. Okay, constructive criticism for sure. You know, if you're to say, I didn't like that thick book, Conduct of the Persian Gulf War, too bad. I'm still going to use it. I didn't make you read all of it. I did make you read a few chapters of it, which were long, but I gave you a couple weeks to do it. So no whining about reading. You can whine about it. That's okay, but it has to be logical. It makes sense. And then finally, I don't know if you remember, I put an announcement out near the beginning of the course about the Francona book, From Ally to Adversary. If you do not want to keep it, I would ask that you do one of two things. Return it to where you bought it from, see if you can, like Thrift Books or Amazon or something like that. Or I will buy it off of you for whatever price you paid plus shipping to me. I will tell you, I'm unavailable for about the next month, and I really won't be able to pay you. But if you want to do that, hold on to the book and shoot me an email in mid-January, and say, hey, look, I'd like to sell this book to you, and I will buy it from you. Okay, and have a collection, and I can mail it out to future students if they want. I assume Morgan and Andrew, I don't know if you got those books. Were they hard to get? Were they not too bad? And
No,
may I ask where you got them?
I got like a signed copy from Amazon.
Great.
Yeah. It was signed and I was like, this is a nice little
You oh,
addition.
you got it. It was signed from
Yeah.
Francona.
Yep.
So I want to say you are special. However, mine is signed and it's signed to me.
Yeah, mine wasn't signed to me. You are special. You're specialer.
I'm messing with you there. Uh, great. How about you, Andrew? Where did you get yours from?
Same Amazon.
Was
Mine,
was it
however,
also signed?
it was not signed. So
Rats.
I got the pleb version of it from Amazon. So
And feel free to keep them. Don't pressure me into saying don't keep them. I think it's an excellent little book and a bit of a gem, because it's first person by Rick Francona. I met the guy. He was Schwarzkopf's personal interpreter, and he just has insights that no one else has from that level. Schwarzkopf has his book. I told you, I recommended you reading it, but it's not just about the Gulf War, and Powell's book as well, and Fred Franks's book. But I think Francona, for a relatively thin book, really captures the essence of the Gulf War and his part of it. And I thought he did a good job in that. I wish I wrote that well. So yeah. That's all I got. Any other questions? I'll let you go. We're right at the 90-minute mark. So otherwise, I'm going to say goodnight unless you have any other questions.
Thank you for sharing all your experiences. It was nice to hear about them.
You're welcome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. And Morgan, we'll see you next semester.
Yes. Yes,
Uh,
you will.
yeah, in diplomacy. And are you
Both
taking the other one as well?
The Russia class and the diplomacy. So
In
all
diplomacy.
semester. I'll see you all semester.
Ouch. I feel bad for you. Sorry.
No, it'll be a pleasure. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome. And Andrea, are you tapped out on me now, or you've taken some of my other courses, right?
I have. I think I am tapped out on you. I might actually have you for the
Practicum.
cap. Yeah, the practicum. I can't remember.
That's second
Uh,
half of next semester.
yes. Okay. Yeah. So I believe I do have you for the practicum then. So I'll see you again. But yeah, all the other courses, yeah, I've tapped out on you. In fact, I took this one kind of as a filler because I saw you teaching it, and the my counselor was like, well, you don't need it to graduate. I was like, I'll take it. I've taken all of his other classes. You just throw this one in the mix. So it was cool. I appreciate it. It was a really good class as usual. So no,
Well,
appreciate
I
it.
appreciate that. Thank you, Andrea. And it's been a pleasure having you as a student, you as well, Morgan. And yeah, I'll see you at the practicum. I'll just give you, I'll tell you very briefly. You took my diplomacy course, right? You
I
said,
did, yes.
and so it's a related to that. The practicum research paper will be in the form of a State Department cable, so you'll have a little bit of an advantage having done one already.
Yep,
And
yep.
Morgan, if you end up taking my practicum in the future, you'll have the same advantage. So, all
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, guys. I'll say good
Enjoy
night.
your trip.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You have a good trip. Thanks.
All right.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Good night.